Hello, third graders. Today we'll be working on lesson 1.7, use place value to add. This is on page 29. Our essential question, how can you use place value to add three-digit numbers? Let's unlock the problem. Here is our real-world example. Dante is planning a trip to Illinois. His airplane leaves from Dallas, Texas, and stops in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Then it flies from Tulsa to Chicago, Illinois. How many miles does Dante fly? And we can see on the picture helps to communicate the information as well. We know Dante is planning a trip to Illinois, and Chicago is the city in the state of Illinois he's going to. And he's leaving from Dallas, Texas. Dallas is a city in the state of Texas. So Dallas, stopping in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the state just to the north is Oklahoma, and Tulsa is the city in Oklahoma. So that distance from Dallas to Tulsa is 236 miles. Then the plane takes off again and flies from Tulsa to Chicago in Illinois. And that distance is here in red, 585 miles. So how many miles does Dante fly? We need to add together the 585 and the 236. Okay? So we're going to use place value to add the two add-ins. And we will start, like we did in yesterday's example, with an estimate. And that will just help us know if our answer is close. Do our estimate. 236 is pretty close to 200. You would round it down because the 3 is less than 5, so it stays in the 200 zone. And 585, that 8 in the tens place is saying, nope, bump it up. So it's going up to 600. So our estimate is 800. And now we're going to figure out our whole process. We're going to add the ones, and we will have to regroup the ones as tens and ones. So 6 plus 5 is 11. And you can see we put the 1 from the tens place in the tens column, and the 1 from the ones place stays in the ones place. So now we're adding 8 plus 3 plus 1. Now I can't find a friendly 10, but I do know that 8 plus 3 is, I might think of it as 8 plus 2 plus 1. I can make a 10 and one more. So that's 11 plus 1 is 12. A 2 in the tens place, it's really 120. And my 100 gets carried into the hundreds place. Now I have 5 plus 2 plus 1, so that is 8. So 236 plus 585 is 821. So going back to the problem, we need to answer it with our unit, miles. So Dante flies 821 miles. Since blank is close to the estimate of blank, the answer is reasonable. So since 821 is close to the estimate, and here's my estimate of 800, then I know my answer is reasonable. You can also use the commutative property of addition that Ms. Cohn talked about earlier this week on Tuesday to check your work. So change the order of the add-ins and find the sum. So that commutative property gives you a second way to double check your work. The estimate gives you one way, and you can do the commutative property to do the other. So 821. So that checks. They match. All right. We're going to try to find 563 plus 48 in two ways. We'll start with our estimate. And notice this estimate, we're not rounding 563 to the nearest 100. We're going to round it to the nearest 10. So they gave us 550 plus 50. Because if we were going to round 48, that would round to 0 if it were rounding to the nearest 100. So we're going to round to the nearest 10. So that gives us an estimate of 50 plus, or 550 plus 50 is 600. So that's our estimate. We're going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of that. Now let's use the break apart strategy. And I wanted to show you on a digital place value board how we might do that. So 563 is the number that we're going to break apart, right? 563. So I'm going to put 500 blocks.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
To overlap a little. 63. So I put 6 tens. 10,
20, 30, 40, 50, 60.
It helps me to organize them and group them. So 563.
1, 2, 3. Just so you can see what that number looks like.
563. Okay, is 500. And we had, remember, 6 tens, so that's 60. And then we're left with 3 ones. Okay, and 48, we break it apart and we've got 4 tens and 8 ones. So now I'm going to add each place value group. So
Plus 3, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sometimes I like to touch the number as I add. That gives me 11. I've got 1 in the ones place, and I can keep it right there this way and just keep 11 there. I don't have to put the 10 above. Now I've got 60 plus 40. So 60 plus 40, I know 6 plus 4, oh, that's a 10. And I've got 0. So I've got 100 tens, or 100 ones, but 10 tens, right? And 500. So now, to find my total sum, I've got
500 plus 100 plus 11. So 500 plus 100 is 600. 11. And I can use place value. I can just start in the ones place, 8, 9, 10, 11. I put the ones in the ones place, carry the 10 from the 11 above the tens place. I've got 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 1 more is 11. So I'm going to regroup that and break it apart. Okay, I've got 1 in above the 5 and a 5. 1 plus 5 is 6. And is 611 close to 600? It is. That's reasonable. We are going to work on this one with 3 addends. So we will estimate each of the addends, and each number that we're adding in a number sentence is called an addend. So 140, you can see they're having us round to the nearest 10, nearest 50. So I'm going to add 100 plus 400 is 500 plus 300 is 800. Oh, and I've got 2 50s, just like two quarters plus 2 quarters is another dollar. So I've got another one. So I've got 7, 8, I've got 900. We're getting close to 1,000. I can start in the ones place. 0 plus 7 plus 1 is 8. And then I've got my 8. I'm going to add the tens. 4 plus 5 plus 0 is 9. Okay, so I've got 98 so far. I need to add the hundreds. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 1 is 8, right? So 140 plus 457 plus 301 is 98. And take a look. 898 is pretty close to 900. Problem B, another chance to practice. Add 173 plus 102 plus 328. We're going to do our estimate. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. And we add those zeros on the end to match, right? So we've got 600 is our estimate. Now we're going to add the ones, and we do have to regroup the ones as tens and ones. So I see, like Ms. Cohn had told us, look for friendly numbers. 8 plus 2 is 10. That's pretty friendly. Plus 3 more means 10 plus 3 is 13. And I had to regroup that 1 at the top. So now we're adding the tens, and we have to regroup the tens as hundreds and tens. So I've got, 7 plus 2 is 9, plus 1 more is 10. And that 0 doesn't change our value. So I've got 0 here plus that 1 in the hundreds place. So now I'm going to add 3 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. Oh, it's a doubles fact because I've got 3 ones and 3. So that is 6. So 173 plus 102 plus 328 is 603, which, if we check, pretty close. 600 was our estimate. 603 is our exact answer, that checks out. That's reasonable. All right. Now, we're going to share and show. So this is where I want you to think and pause the video to answer it on your own, and then you can see my answer. So circle the problem in which you need to regroup. When we regroup, that's what we did over here where we had to break it apart. We had greater than 10, so we had to separate it out into the tens and ones, right? We had greater than 10 here, so we had to separate it out into a 1 and a 0. So when we have to regroup, we're breaking it apart into two place values. So circle the problem in which you need to regroup. So 496 plus 284, would you have to regroup? 482 plus 506, would you have to regroup? Let's start looking in the ones place. 6 plus 4, would that make that you have to regroup? Yes, you would have to regroup in A. So now it says use the strategy that is easier to find the sum. Now it's up to you how you want to do it. Go ahead and pause the video, solve A in the space here. Did you get 780? All right, I'm going to want you to check. I want you to make an estimate and then find the sum for 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Pause between each one and check your answers. We're going to work on 6 through 11 on your own, and actually I'd like you to choose 4 to do, and whichever 4 you want to do, but I'm going to have you choose 4, give yourself some practice, and I want you to think how you feel about this. If you think this is really tricky and hard and you want some more help with this, plan to come to the live instruction and stay for the small group. Okay, so choose 4 and pause here. Okay, so I put my estimates in turquoise, so you can see my estimate was 650 and my exact answer for number 6 was 629. Okay, so there is more in our lesson, but what I want you to do is to go to the practice book pages. Those are the gray pages after the colorful pages in lesson 1.7. So go to the practice pages for lesson 1.7, and I want you to choose 5 problems of your choice to solve. And that's what I would like for you to turn in. You can either upload a photo file of just the still page, or you can record and show your work for the 5 problems and explain one of them. How did you solve it? So that's your work to do, to turn in. Now, I look forward to seeing which 5 from the practice book pages you chose. If you did challenge yourself and do any of the problems 12 through 18, please feel free to show those as well. I would love to see the challenge that you did for yourself. And thank you for working with us with math. And if you come to the live session, I look forward to seeing you.